when the lady called me who was on my case said, and it was very cold. So this evil person ended up getting a really evil lawyer. And the detective himself was like, I've never dealt with such an asshole in my life. And so he knew it was coming. So he knew he had a guilty conscience.
Sure.
The lady called me and said, well, since alcohol was involved, both of you were drinking, they're not pursuing charges. Well, this is why women don't come forward.
Mhm.
All the women that I've talked to since this has happened,
Yep.
nobody comes forward because nobody's going to do anything about it. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I can do something about it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. I'm very happy that you're here. Today, I have a very special guest. I got to meet her yesterday on her podcast. Hi, Megan. How you doing today?
Hey. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, Megan, yesterday we had an awesome conversation on your podcast, and I thought it would be fun. Well, we thought it would be fun to kind of maybe collab and do each other's podcast, which is always a fun thing to do. So, Megan, I know that we talked earlier about the focus of this channel is pretty much talking about people who struggle with sobriety, people who struggle with drinking in particular, and your page is incredibly successful. You have a ton of followers and people, you seem to have like a tribe of people that really, a community of people, tribe, maybe. Well, I like the word tribe because tribe.
I like the word tribe too.
Because it kind of, it encapsulates the idea of rolling it together and we're a group of people moving in one direction instead of going backwards.
I feel like what stood out from my channel when I first started was I actually engaged with every single comment.
See, that's why you're doing so well, is because you did that. I mean, you go to, when I go visit other channels and I see people, they post their video, then they don't kind of jump back into the comment section to hear the questions of, their audience. I mean, that's when you lose them, right? So it's really important to engage yourself, get yourself involved with whatever they're talking about, because then that's going to help them in so many ways, right?
Resonate.
So Megan, so you're, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like where you're just a little bit about yourself. Just who are you? Who are you, Megan?
Who am I? Well, I am Megan. I grew up in a small town. Revolved around alcohol. Later in life, it took over my life, I guess. I didn't realize I had a problem. Like, you can go back to my very first video and I was like, I didn't realize I had a problem until I had a problem. We did 75 hard, started July 2023, and that was when my journey started. Never looked at alcohol as an actual problem. I really didn't like being around drunk people.
So you wouldn't like me too much then.
But I was that drunk person. So going into 75 hard, I was like, well, this is my whole entire life. I've never known anything different. How am I going to get through this? And couldn't wait to get my hands on a drink at day 76. Well, through that journey, I started learning a lot about myself and how much alcohol actually played a huge role in my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, there is a life outside of alcohol. I mean, I have the whole story. Started at 15 years old at a high school graduation party. And then, the weekends consisted of that, sneaking out, drinking with my friends and boys. I mean, the whole shebang. It didn't alter my high school. I could have done better. But in college, I didn't I got, like I told you yesterday, I was put on academic probation because alcohol was more important. And then going into, my 20s, I met my husband. Alcohol was...
How old were you when you met so did you get married early?
Was I 26? I just turned 27. I got married April 2014, a week after my birthday. So my birthday's April 18th, got married April 26th, 2014. So I think I was like 26 or 27.
Okay. I'm sorry, I actually interrupted you. So you said you were drinking, then you met your soon-to-be husband.
Oh, and it was all around alcohol. I mean, he was deployed, met him at a coming home party, through a friend. That's I grew up with the guy that he ended up roommating with in Iraq, and then coming home party, and then it was my brother's graduation party, alcohol. And then it was the guy that I grew up with's alcoholic dad's funeral. Met him. It was a party afterwards. And then that's when me and my husband decided, that was our first, he asked me on my first date that night. And then the rest is history. And so, it was just always revolved around alcohol. Like high school was alcohol, before him was alcohol, meeting him was alcohol, marriage was alcohol, beginning of kids was alcohol. It was like all alcohol. So I didn't know any other thing. That's how we coped with everything. And then he had always tried to get me to do 75 hard. And I never wanted to do it because I didn't want to give up alcohol. But 8 of us decided to do it. And like I said, 3 of us finished. And I just never went back. And then that first year literally it was a struggle. And then a lot of people say it's that figuring out that first year of where you are, who you are, and everything. And then going forward, going into that second year, it's like, oh, well, now I figured it out. And now I know why I drank all these years.
Yeah. I mean, God, it's so hard. That I think I actually talked about this on one of my other episodes with Jess Lopez. She was terrific. So if anyone wants to check her out, please do so, because that episode is just phenomenal. But she brought up this, the point that you just brought up, like getting sober isn't the easiest part. Honestly, is just quitting the drinking part. It's just coming to the actualization that you have to live with yourself sober now, and how do you do that, right? And that can be different from everyone's being sober, healthy, so different, right? What did you do, like personally? Like, how did you discover yourself being that sober person instead of just being an abstinent from alcohol person?
And like everybody says, those first few weeks are the worst.
So hard,
and
right?
Then you get to 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And then, I mean, you just start learning. So I was super busy when I first stopped.
That's
drinking.
Good. I mean, that's good. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm an active person anyways. I was personal trainer. So like getting outside and walking, I started listening to podcasts probably a couple of years before I quit drinking. And so I kind of had it in my head, I need to better myself. And then just throwing myself into that challenge. And I don't know, there's so much to this.
Well, it's like hard to go back in time and like remember all those things that you were doing back then, because you're this person now, and it's almost difficult to go back to that point, that person then, because it brings up a lot of like bad. Like when I do that and I go back and I think of who I was, and I mean, obviously we're talking about like the happy thing, the good thing, but it is hard to kind of revisit the old you when you are the new you, right? But so expending that, being busy, that was a big one for me. So you said you were a personal trainer, so that was a big one, right? Like your physical fitness and everything.
Yeah. So I don't even know, like my drinking was hard. It was brutal, and it started getting worse. I started like blacking out a lot, really ruining relationships. I lost who I was. But through this journey, I will admit I did get bitter towards a lot of people and things, because you just start seeing yourself differently.
Mm-hmm.
You start feeling the emotions, and you're like, holy crap, all these emotions that I like drank down to the bottom of the bottle. And now I actually have to live through this. And if I didn't do this challenge, because I hate failing. And like, it was probably about 50 days into not drinking, I did my first video. And it was about right after the 3-week mark, maybe like 3 to 4 week mark, I dumped all the alcohol down the drain, and I sent it to my friend Slur. She was my counselor turned friend. And because during counseling, I also think counseling plays a huge role in recovery is also, and I don't talk enough about that actually, but everybody talked about my drinking. Would ask me about my drinking. I was like, I don't have a problem. And so anyways, I dumped out all the alcohol, and that was this freeing feeling. I'm like, gosh, my house was always the party house, and I didn't want to be that person anymore. I guess just what got me through is I didn't want to go back. And like a lot of people say, they play the tape forward. It was unconscious, whatever, subconsciously doing that. And I was like, I don't want to be that person that blacks out. I don't want my kids to see me drunk. For a little background, I do have 2 children.
Obviously, I probably should have started there. Just I know you have such a beautiful family. You've talked about them often, and that's great. I mean, that's having that family that depends on you is reason enough to just slow the drinking down, if not stop.
You would
think.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, right? You would think, right? But alcohol is like that one drug that like it's just like a demon that just sucks you in and you can't get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can kind of go back. I know I jump all over the place like I
Oh, I do
warned
too.
you. So when I was 15, I went to a high school graduation party. My dad had dropped me off. Growing up in a small town, we knew everybody. It was fine. I was safe. I was with one of my best friends that I grew up with, and we were with just people that we knew. I went in, I took 6 shots, probably 3 of tequila, 3 of vodka, and everybody's like, whoa, you're going to feel that soon. I was like, haha, whatever. I remember laying on the bed, just full of just like this euphoria, I guess. And it was like the best feeling. Well, fast forward to that night, I got home. I ended up puking. My dad, it's DD. Well, another boy that I grew up with, he drove us. He didn't drink. So my dad went to a different party. I went to the
That
one
seems
down the
pretty
road.
cool.
Oh, yeah. So that's when my drinking career started.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom came home from work that night and she was so pissed off at me and my dad. She's like, she needs to go to rehab. I was like, that was my first time drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So confused. But I think it might have been because she wasn't there to help control the situation. I don't know. But then fast forward, yeah, my parents were the party parents. It was my house that everybody could come to and drink. My dad was the one that everybody would call in the middle of the night to come pull them out of the woods. Like I said, small town. We'd go drink up in the mountains. People would get stuck. You could come. There was just a few parents that would be willing to buy the alcohol for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of just, it was just, as long as I was drinking with them, it was fine. And then I met more friends and started sneaking out and going. I never got in trouble. I never put myself, well, I don't think I put myself in risky situations because most of the people I hung out with were normal and fine, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I just got with the wrong crowd in high school. And then I started hanging out with older people and it just boyfriend and later in high school, my boyfriend was 3 years older than me. So then he turned 21 and then you know how that goes. I'm 18, he's 21.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kept going and going. And then I met this tool after him and that was a fun one. He was 2 years younger than me, had a fake ID. He was into drugs also. And I didn't know that until like later on in my relationship. I never did drugs. I guess I don't really consider smoking weed a drug, but I always said I hated being stoned. I hated it in my body. I hate it. And I was like, I can be drunk and I can be loud and obnoxious. Being stoned was just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, I was like, who wants a drunk person? Anyways, so a little bit about high school. Yeah, I was the drinker in high school. I hung out with the wrong crowd. I played volleyball. Some of the volleyball moms were telling my mom, oh, he's going to get an MIP before anybody. Well, karma's a bitch. And those daughters actually got MIPs. I didn't. So I went down MIP free. I never got in trouble with the law. I was able to jump fences and just I don't know how I
You just dodged it. You dodged all the bullets, right?
Yeah, I would jump fences and go hide in ditches until things cooled down. I don't know. I
did that kind of stuff too. I was always trying to get. I was always really good about getting out of the party before the cops showed up. Until one time, I don't want to jump into your story, but one time I threw a huge house party. Because I was one with the fake ID. I remember I told you the story yesterday on your podcast. So I had a fake ID and I was buying everyone booze. So I would, in my parents, because I was youngest of 4 brothers and they would go away a lot. And I would throw big house parties. And one time the cops showed up and next thing you know, I had to face the music and they actually, a toilet exploded because someone flushed paper towels down the toilet. And it ruined the entire brand new wooden floor and it warped it. And then I just like ran away. I was so scared from my father because he was so strict. Anyways, getting back to your story. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So I don't know. I just kept following in the same footsteps. College, I got with the rowdy girls. They were really rowdy. They were again into drugs. I went home. I dropped out because I was on academic probation. I actually had to go to an alcohol class my freshman year. That was fun. Me and some other dude had to go, and we were like, "This is a joke."
Yeah, like, those are jokes. I had to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're 18 or 19 years old and you're like sitting in this alcohol class. Like, what a joke. Just to go drink right afterwards. So then went home, got a job, met that tool. He was also into drugs. I didn't know it, like I said. And then broke up with him. I don't know. It's just like I found these like people that just I was my environment, I know, but I just kept falling back into the trap of alcohol, and nobody was there to teach me that it's okay not to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma now, she's like, looking back, she's like, I wish I would have known. I was like, well, what would you have done? There's nothing that anybody could do. I had to do it myself. Took me I've been drinking, 20 something years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my wedding was revolved around alcohol. My reception, we got married in Vegas, and then we had a reception later. And like a lot of things were just ruined because of alcohol. There's been relationships ruined, friendships ruined, family dynamics. I mean, my parents are divorced because of alcohol. Alcohol led
Was a
to their
big
divorce.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, their final straw was alcohol. They were actually both in jail. But I mean, you just don't know what you don't know. And so I didn't see a life without alcohol. And I guess now that I'm in the healing phases, looking back, all the promotions that I didn't get, people didn't take me seriously. I was just a young, dumb blonde, always partying, looking for my next drink. Even after I had, my daughter, my grandpa died at teen, and probably a week later, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, which was an absolute amazing blessing. It took me a year and a half to get pregnant, but I was sitting on the couch by myself because my husband was working graveyard then, and I was drinking champagne by myself because drowning my sorrows. I didn't know how else to do it. And anyway, she came out fine, and she came early actually because of my previa, nothing to do with drinking that bottle of champagne before I knew I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't drink. Well, no, again, it pumped and breastfed around my alcohol hours. Like literally my life was always revolved around alcohol. It's like, okay, if I feed her or pump, then I can have alcohol. And then, pump and dump, like all these things, like it literally, everything was revolved around alcohol.
Yeah. And you don't see it like during that time, right? Like you're in it, but you can't see it from like an objective standpoint where like, look what I'm doing. Like, this is crazy. Right. And you're justifying like, well, I'm pumped now because there'll be no alcohol in it, but then I can still drink. It's like you're being responsible because you are, but at the same time, in the back of your head, you're so it's just such a part of your life, right? Like it was for me. Like I was making excuses. Like I got a job to do Uber just so I wouldn't drink. That's what we do. We literally make the biggest, craziest excuses to not drink instead of just admitting that we probably should seek help for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very angry drunk. It's fun, but I was also angry. But I was angry towards the people that were closest to me. I would lash out. So like it just became such a problem. And definitely towards the last few years, one of my best friends and I are no longer friends. So that was a fun roller coaster.
Was that related to this, like the alcohol thing, or is that something completely different?
So this happened in August of 22, and we've not spoke since. Words were said, fists were thrown.
Oh, wow. So it got physical.
Security was called. I think it was something that had been leading up. And you know how like when you're drunk, you don't really know how to express yourself when you're sober. And then all of a sudden, all these emotions from both of us just came spitting out. And both of us were at fault. I mean, I may have been more at fault than her, but it was not a fun time in my life. She was one of the only ones that actually came to visit me when I moved from Oregon to Idaho. She was always here probably every couple of months. I was like, wow, like none of my other friends came and visited me. But things just started getting weird. Her husband, well, quote husband, is an alcoholic himself. And so she would always get mad at him for drinking. And then she would always try to shame me about my drinking. And it was just like, she was trying to mom me. And I changed a lot in that friendship. And so my husband's actually thankful that it all fell apart. Even though it is sad. We had 2 kids together at the exact same time. Her son and my daughter are 4 days apart. And then our youngest are like 5 days apart. We were literally pregnant. It was like one of those friendships that you not really pregnant with a lot of your friends at the same time.
No.
But it was just one of those things. And you would have thought that I would have learned my lesson and quit drinking. Also, something else happened that year of 22 that I was like, okay, we really have to taper back our drinking. And because it just started getting so detrimental to our life. But yet 22 was probably the worst year of my life. But we got through it. And a year after,
Why was it? I'm sorry to touch on a sensitive subject. Why was it the worst year of your life?
I was personal trainer and I was really involved in that gym. I helped grow it. I helped build the classes. I created classes. I was part of the family. However, like I said, when I was in high school and college, I would put myself in risky situations and never had a problem. Well, didn't think that when I was 35 years old, this would ever happen to me by somebody that I looked up to and wanted to mentor, but it was sexually assaulted by the owner of the gym. And yeah, I know, of course.
I'm so sorry. That is
if
tragic.
yeah,
That is so unforgivable.
I haven't talked about this on my channel, but
I'm sorry if I just touched on something very sensitive. We can always.
No, I just did actually a podcast with another girl and she brought it up and I was like, it's not talked about enough. But since alcohol was involved, it kind of just got shoved under the rug. He is like a 300-pound ogre, literally Shrek. I don't even know. Anyways, he ran a female gym because his granddaughters, I don't know. There's so much to the story, but I was getting into real estate and I really wanted to mentor him because he was into commercial lending. And I was like, man, I can branch off, and because my husband does residential and I can do commercial, or I just wanted to learn more pieces of it. And he had been super successful and I thought that we had, I don't know. But then looking back through therapy and everything, and I have several friends that are counselors, there's a term for it. What's the word?
Groomed? No.
Yes. Yes.
It? Yeah.
Yeah. So at every event, it was because Meghan drank. Meghan was the fun one. It was like, how many shots of Jameson can we give her? And after I like looked back, it was like all these happy hours and have more drinks. And not even thinking about it because I never was in this situation, never like thought in my life this would ever happen to me. I had lunch every time I'd have lunch, I'd leave really buzzed. And then our last conversation was, well, come over, we can go over these paperworks, I can teach you, and then we can start from there. My husband and our broker were going to get involved also with the next meeting. And well, for some reason, he knew that Jameson Black Label was my favorite, and somehow he had that at his house, even though he drank Jack Daniels. I've never been so drunk in my life, and it was the weirdest feeling. I don't know. And I just remember waking up, and I won't go into too many details. No. I just remember waking up and it not being a good situation. The youngest daughter and the older daughter were there trying to get me, like get the situation under control. And then I was taken down I took a little field trip with the cop the next night. And then all of this happened and detectives were involved. It was a big thing.
I'm so sorry. That's
maybe one of the reasons I haven't talked about it online is because my husband actually edits my videos, so I don't ever want to put him through that. It was really messy. It was really hard on my relationship with my husband. I cried for weeks. I didn't tell anybody. I barely told my mom. I don't know. It was hard. And I lost the gym family. I never wanted to train again. It was just one of those things. Well, then we were like, maybe we shouldn't drink that much. And well, we didn't. And then, so this happened June 21st, 22. And then 4th of July came and my husband, he took it really hard. Him and my dad were drinking on 4th of July. And I just kept looking at Jonathan like, stop drinking. Like you could see it in his eye that something was wrong and he was going to snap. Well, these two yahoos, my stepmom and I were out back and I think I had like one drink that night because like I said, we weren't really drinking. And well, they got in the Razor, the side by side, and my dad and my stepmom were getting into it because she didn't want to move the car. She's like, you're drunk. I don't want you to move my car. I'm not going to move my car. What are you guys doing? It just became like a shit show. And anyways, they took the Razor, screamed down the road. I live in Idaho. Like people drive their Razors and side by sides on the road all the time. But anyways, it was just in our neighborhood. Then they started doing cookies in my backyard, and there was a hole in the tire. It actually was a recall, but the combination of everything that happened, it was alcohol was involved. The tire broke. The EMTs came. My dad degloved his hand. He had staples in his head, stitches in his left wrist. I mean, it was like one of those things where I just went through my own trauma, and now I have to go through this.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is happening to my
you
life
can say
right
fuck.
now?
It's okay.
It was so hard, and it was just like one thing after another, and it just, and then that happened, and then me and my best friend had a falling out the next month, so it was like June, July, August, bam. Well, nothing taught me not to drink. Very, very, 22 was very, it sucked. So
that's a tough year. I am so sorry that you had to go through all that, and even just talking about it again, I'm sorry they put you through that. Until that was pretty emotional. I noticed within your story, interwoven within it, alcohol just kind of, it amplifies it. When things are terrible, it just makes things even worse. It's that evil. It's an evil drug. It really is.
Well, and when the lady called me, who was on my case, and said, and it was very cold. So this evil person ended up getting a really evil lawyer. And the detective himself was like, I've never dealt with such an asshole in my life. And so he knew it was coming. So he knew, like, he had a guilty conscience. The lady called me and said, well, since alcohol was involved, both of you were drinking, they're not pursuing charges. Well, this is why women don't come forward. When women don't come forward, all the women that I've talked to since this has happened, nobody comes forward because nobody's going to do anything about it. And maybe that's like why I'm in doing what I'm doing, because eventually maybe like I can do something about it. But I mean, like,
well, you are right now. Just what you just told, that very brave story that you just told, that right there raises the awareness how tragic life can be. But yeah, speaking out on such a sensitive topic like that, it is as tough as it is for you to do that. It is a very brave, courageous thing that you just did, and I'm thankful. And I'm sure the audience is as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not easy to talk about, and probably a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk about it. It took me a long time to be able to talk about it, and then it's still, certain triggers do happen, and I do have certain moments every June. Apparently, like, your body just has a clock to it, and then I just go into this like depression. But I got through it my first year of sobriety, and like, because the first year I drank.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't, right? After going through such a traumatic experience as you just did, I would too. I would black out, just so I would forget about all that. That's. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening have gone through some similar situation like that, and they've handled it very similarly as you did. So,
thankfully, I had my friend who was a counselor. She instantly referred me to somebody that actually didn't have any openings. I got in right away for EMDR. And so that all started helping. And then we started 75 Hard in July of 23. And then through all that process and the personal development, everything started like shifting. It was the EMDR, the podcast, the reading, just the mindset challenge, I think really helped me overcome a lot of those feelings that I was feeling. But I mean, it's still like, it's definitely a touchy subject. And I mean, I don't wish it on anybody. And so when that friend that I said I had falling out with, she said something to my husband. She tried like destroying me. She was like, I wonder that happened to Meghan or something like that. And I was like, you know what? You don't wish that on your worst enemy. Like, yeah, of course I've been drunk, and I've, in my younger days, probably slept with somebody I shouldn't have, but not in this situation. Like,
no,
definitely
never.
not.
That's a never, never, never. No.
Yeah. And so I was grieving a piece of me that was lost. I was grieving. I felt like everybody abandoned me from the gym. Nobody reached out to me, and they all had an alibi because I had just got my real estate license in that April prior, and I was phasing out. I wasn't doing my classes anymore, but I was still going to personal train. But why would it just disappear?
Why?
Yeah, like nobody like texted me and said, hey, what's going on, girl? Where are you? Like nothing. But then rumors started spreading, and what happened to me actually brought up a lot of things in other women, and it all fell apart. Everybody that was working about the same time I was working had left because rumor got around, and 2 people reached out to me and said, this happened to me and it's just too painful. I can't do this anymore. And I have heard some traumatic stories since. Alcohol is the devil, and people don't take it seriously when something like this happens to a female. I'm not disregarding men, but like I've only talked to females about this situation.
No, but that's your experience, and so many others out there who have had similar experiences. That is so traumatic, and I can't even imagine picking up the pieces after something like that happens. So can we talk about that part, like the picking up the pieces part? Yeah, like where did you go from there? You lost your gym and everything. Where did you start to rebuild your life? How did it? I'm looking at this like wonderful person here, this very successful, happy person now. Like how did you get here?
So it's so weird. It was through therapy that I started realizing these things. It didn't happen overnight at all. It was definitely a healing journey. But I was going to work. I was such a bitch every Sunday. I'd have to be to work at like 4:45 a.m. And so I would ruin every family weekend because I'm like, I have to get home. I have to get ready. And then the evenings would suck because I would work from like, 4:45 a.m. to sometimes 2 p.m., go get my kids. And then I just wasn't able to function because of course I was drinking heavily at this time. It took me 2 months. I was kind of in my own hole. And I just was like, this is crappy. I didn't do anything with real estate. I didn't really talk to very many people. I just stayed close to like my closest people. And I don't know if it was like 6 months into it. I was never there for my children. I wasn't there for picture day to do my daughter's hair. I didn't make breakfast for them. It was solely on my husband. Kudos to him for stepping up to the plate. But
sounds like a great guy.
There was something during that I said, you know what? Something came of this. As tragic as it was, I get to be home with my family.
That's a silver. I mean, it's a beautiful silver lining. If not the brightest, shiniest silver lining, right?
Yeah, and it made me really learn that I don't have to put everybody else first. My family comes first. And so through that, my family comes first now. I don't schedule around, of course I schedule around people like sometimes, but not consistently. It's my life, my kids. I am going to drop my kids off from school. And then if I can't pick them up, that's fine. Jonathan can get them. But, it's not every single day now that I'm like, nope, you have to take them to school. You have to pick them up. Like he was. Like I'm fully involved now. I even coached my daughter's volleyball team, and that would have never happened. So I just started thinking, I started looking for the positives in everything that happened. Yeah, that really sucked, and I don't wish it on anybody, and it was the hardest thing of my life that has ever happened to me. I looked at it differently. I didn't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore. I didn't have to train people that actually didn't want to work on themselves. I, wasting my time, and I got to focus on myself, my husband, my kids. We went camping every weekend. Family trips were a lot more enjoyable. Got to focus on real estate more and not stress about, well, I still have to get to the gym, or I still have to like help this person or that person. It just shifted my family so much. And so it actually, like I said, as shitty as it was, it helped me as a person.
Yeah, it seemed as tragic as of an experience in such a loss of your, who you were. You also gained this incredible amount of strength through this process. A remarkable amount, an inspirational amount. Honestly, I mean, I got like goosebumps when you were telling that's your story and talking about how your family comes first now. But I'm so happy that you made it through it, and you're on the other side of it, and you're getting much more time to spend with your family, and you're doing what you want to do, and you seem in a better place now. And I'm very happy that you are in that place now. So congratulations on that.
And like, it's just, now, just because you don't think it's going to happen, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
it can happen at any age. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. I was a teenager and a young adult, and it never happened to me. fast forward, married with children, and it happened to me.
Mm.
And you have to, like, I've had to work with this in counseling so hard because I keep saying, well, maybe if alcohol wasn't, should I put myself in that situation? But it was like, I didn't know. I
Oh,
thought you
how are you
trust this person and never would this happen. And then I was like, but I went home and I put jeans on and a nice blouse. Like, I got out of my shorts and my tank top. I just justify every, like try to like be like, well, I did this and this. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. But it's like, no, you're still a victim. And there's never an excuse for it.
Never. It's never an excuse for it. That is unforgivable behavior that person exhibited towards you. So you're now in this better place, which is fantastic. I'm so happy for you. Talk about this journey that you've been on now. Like, what your page is great. Your channel is awesome. I love the style of it. You're very, very easy to talk to. I mean, there's so much you do with your tribe. Can you explain? Yeah. Can you talk about that? I'm curious about your business.
I thank them all the time because without them, I don't think I would have stayed sober. It's a huge accountability piece in my life. And I started my channel out as fitness, and that just wasn't really doing anything because, I mean, the niche is there for everybody. Everybody wants to do fitness.
It's a big one.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just threw a video up one day just on my journey through my challenge that I did, and it just did something. All the comments that I was getting, I was like, holy crap, I resonated with people. People are reaching out to me. And fast forward a year and I started it. That video went out September of 23. So over a year ago. And since then, I have changed so many people's lives. They reach out to me and say, you helped me get my business back 10x. I quit drinking. I'm a better mom. I'm a better dad. Like, thanks to you, I'm 15 months sober. And like, just these rock bottom people, like I don't know how rock bottom is to some people, but to me, my rock bottom was not like these people's rock bottom for some of them. Like, everybody has a different way of quitting drinking, whether that be medicine, AA, rehab, outpatient, whatever. I didn't do any of it. I solely leaned into my community, and which AA is community, rehab, like all those sources are community. So I just engaging with everybody, and we all pour into each other. I couldn't do it without them, and they can't do it without me. No, there's several sober channels coming up, but I love engaging with people. Like, I'm a personable person, and I don't know, it's just fun for me. It's fun. It keeps me accountable, and I'm changing people's lives. With help, yeah, I can change people's lives, but I feel like drinking...
I feel like this is more meaningful, what you're doing now, Like, when someone actually, like, think about, like, the impact that you're having on people's lives, right? You said you saved so many people from their rock bottoms, and everyone's rock bottom looks different, which is another point that I kind of want to talk about. But the intrinsic reward that you get from having someone reach out, like, I just started my channel, so I'm starting to get more and more of that. But feeling like you can't buy that feeling. That feeling is something that I treasure and I hold dearly, and it keeps me progressing in realizing over and over, like, why I started my channel and why I'm telling the world about my horrible circumstances of drinking myself to a liver transplant. And it was something I always wanted to hide from the world. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to show those pictures. I didn't want people to know. It was very unnaturally for me to do that. But now, once I did that, I feel like I have a purpose now in my place in the world, and I'm so happy that you do as well, because what you're doing is fantastic.
All over the world. I mean, it's not just here in Colorado. It's all over the world. And I mean, it's definitely, I found my calling in life. We all our life, we are like, well, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Well, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And you know what? I sat in my kitchen one day in September and just babbled my life. And here I am. I mean, I just never thought that we were like, oh, this video may not do anything. Whatever, we'll just try it out. And it did wonders. It has changed people's lives. Just sharing, like, I can't tell you about AA. I can't tell you about rehab. I can just tell you how I did it. And then people come to me and ask me for help, and letting them check in with me and engaging with them, I think helps them also. Like, I have family that are like, well, why can't Meghan help me? And I'm like, I can't help the unwilling. If you come to my channel,
Isn't that so true? I know. Isn't that so true?
If you come to my channel, watch my videos, go through the comments, read the comments, engage, actually try to help yourself. I've never reached out to anybody to be like, do you need help? And I don't think you're not going to help anybody that way.
No.
I don't think, because we have to want it ourselves. And well, unlike you were kind of...
I was forced. Well, but the thing is, story over and over again, people are probably so sick of it, but I did do 125 days sober, and I did try to, I was very willing. Like those years, many, many, many years, I was trying to taper off, trying to find ways out of my AUD, and I just was failing. I couldn't, because I wasn't ready to admit I wasn't able to become vulnerable with the person that my true authentic self. And then unfortunately it did. It took me to that was my journey. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. It was so horrible. I feel like it's it's going to have lasting impact on my life and everything.
Yeah.
And it sucks. That's awful. But I wouldn't have learned. I wouldn't be this person I am today, trying to be. Really, I'm just trying. I'm working on myself, and sometimes it takes liver transplant to finally have it to click, right?
But I try to beat it in people's heads, like, I'm drinking before it gets to that phase.
I know.
I mean, it's just like, ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try it. Try AA. Try outpatient. I mean, maybe you need inpatient. Try asking your doctor for medicine to help you quit drinking. I mean, I have Mark on my channel, and he has been with me for almost since the beginning, and he is the suicidal rock bottom type alcoholic. He has done so many things, but I feel like me just being a part of his life and him being able to come on and be vulnerable on my channel resonates with other people. Oh my gosh, if he did it, I can do it. And it's just, you find your people on your channel that you're like, I really want to help this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I will put my heart and soul into, them, because I know that they want it. But like I said, if I know that they want it, I will, we are putting a course together. I mean, a little off topic, but
no. I was actually going to talk about that. I saw that you had a course, and
we have a course put together. We just have to finish it up, polish it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's for those that want help, and that I think channels like mine and yours and the other ones, just telling our stories, resonating with people, and being honest about it. Of course you have sober channels, and some of them are fake sounding and just not. They don't connect with people.
People are really smart. They can see bullshit right away. You're either into it for the right reasons, or you're into it for the wrong, and you can kind of you can kind of pick up on that pretty quickly. And that's what drew me to your channel, because you're very open, you're very honest about everything, and so am I. So,
and I've had people be like, are you AI? Are you real? I'm like, oh my God, yes, I'm real.
AI could be you. That would be a pretty sophisticated AI.
And then I had people, be like, oh, well, you're just doing this for the money. And I was like, do you
There's no money in
have
this.
to have hundreds and thousands of views to even make a couple $1,000s? Yeah. I mean, there's so much work that goes into these channels. It's full-time work.
People don't understand. People don't realize the amount of effort that we're putting into these things, and we're not getting anything back, but we're not getting anything into it.
The only time I get paid is if somebody does a super thanks or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, when people say that to me, it infuriates me, because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it would be nice to pay the person that does my editing and puts all the time and buys all the equipment. But at the same time, there's no money involved. It's purely out of my heart and helping others. And that's what keeps me in front of people, is the reach back that I get.
And that's why your channel is doing so well. It's because of your authenticity. It shines through right away.
I always joked about it. And then I think me being an open book has led me to be in front of the world.
Yeah. Well, now I am too, and I'm really putting myself out there. I've had people come up to me like, "Well, what about your?" Because I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher forever. Right now, I'm not had that incident where I fell down, unconscious. I came unconscious because of stress. And yeah, it does. It puts, it might jeopardize things in the future. But if I didn't talk about these things, then I'm being a huge disservice to so many others out there who are struggling or were in my situation or whatever. Any way I can help, I just want to help. So that's why I'm doing this. Yeah. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have to pick up children soon. So, Meghan, where can people find you?
Sober Strong on YouTube. I believe on Spotify, I'm Sobriety Uncensored, and I have a TikTok, Sober Strong Megs. Those are a bunch of shorts for my videos. My long form is on YouTube. Like I said, Sober Strong, and
it's all one. Is it all one word? At Sober Strong? Yeah.
YouTube?
It's okay. I can put it in the show notes. So
okay, yeah. And then you can find me on Instagram, but that's just kind of a thing it's just still personal.
Yeah, but people are interested in your life and in your progression of this person that you're becoming, and you have become through so much adversity. So thank you, Meghan, for coming on. You are a terrific guest, and I wish you nothing but happiness and success and peace in the rest of your life. I really do.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, anytime. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and be on the lookout for many, many more. Take care, everybody. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.